Ellen DeGeneres, the woman who built an empire on dancing, kindness, and daytime TV. But now, she's being accused of something far less charming: blowing through a stop sign, T-boning another driver, and getting slapped with a negligence lawsuit. The plaintiff says she's dealing with injuries, medical bills, and lasting trauma. And Ellen, so far, silent. Could this case be the final crash in a career already swerving off course? Welcome back to A Sip of Drama, where we don't just sip the tea, we read the court filings. Today's story: Ellen DeGeneres, sued after an October 2023 car accident in Santa Barbara. The plaintiff says Ellen ignored a stop sign, plowed into her vehicle, and left her with injuries that still affect her life today. So grab your tea, tap that like button before the light turns red, and let's break down how a four-way stop could put Ellen back in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. The lawsuit centers on a crash that happened on October 16, 2023, at a four-way stop in Santa Barbara County. Four-way stops are designed to keep things orderly. You stop, wait your turn, and then go. But according to the plaintiff, Ellen didn't wait for anything. Here's how the complaint lays it out. The plaintiff says she came to a complete stop, checked for traffic, and proceeded into the intersection when it was safe. Ellen, on the other hand, allegedly blew through her stop sign without stopping, colliding directly into the side of the plaintiff's car. That's a T-bone crash, one of the most dangerous types of accidents, because the sides of cars don't have the same protection as the front or back. These collisions often lead to head, neck, or spinal injuries. For the plaintiff, it wasn't just a scare. She claims the aftermath has been life-changing. And the worst part? Running a stop sign is about as clear-cut a traffic violation as it gets. If the plaintiff can prove Ellen didn't stop, the negligence claim starts looking very hard to dodge. The plaintiff isn't just asking for a car repair check, she's laying out a story of serious personal injuries and lasting consequences. According to the complaint, the crash left her with medical bills piling up, lost wages from missing work, and long-term emotional distress. We're talking doctor's visits, therapy sessions, and the kind of chronic pain that makes everyday life harder. She also claims her quality of life has been permanently reduced, which in legal terms means she can seek damages not just for money lost, but for the enjoyment of life she says Ellen's carelessness stole from her. That's a powerful claim in front of a jury. It turns the case from fender bender to life-changing trauma. And juries often sympathize when an ordinary citizen is pitted against a celebrity worth hundreds of millions. The plaintiff's lawyers are painting this as more than just a traffic mistake. They're arguing Ellen's behavior had real human costs, and those costs could add up to a very expensive judgment. To understand why this lawsuit stings so badly, you have to remember where Ellen's reputation stands today. For years, she was America's sweetheart, the be kind comedian who danced into living rooms and made generosity her brand. But in 2020, that brand cracked. Former staffers accused her of fostering a toxic workplace on The Ellen DeGeneres Show. Stories of intimidation, mistreatment, and hypocrisy dominated headlines. The scandal dragged on for months, and even though Ellen tried to apologize on air, the damage was done. By 2022, her show was gone. Now, this negligence case comes at the worst possible time. Ellen's been trying to live quietly, maybe plotting a slow return to public life. But headlines about ignoring a stop sign and injuring someone? That's not the comeback story she needs. The irony is brutal. Ellen told the world to be kind, but this plaintiff's lawyers are ready to argue she couldn't even be careful behind the wheel. So what exactly is Ellen being sued for? Negligence. In legal terms, negligence means failing to act with the level of care a reasonable person would under the same circumstances. Running a stop sign is practically the textbook definition. Courts don't care how rich or famous you are. If an ordinary driver would be ticketed for it, then Ellen could be held liable for all the damages that followed. And here's where it gets scary for her. In civil cases, the standard of proof is preponderance of the evidence. That means the plaintiff only has to show it's more likely than not that Ellen caused the crash, not beyond a reasonable doubt, just 51% certainty. That lower bar is why negligence cases so often end in settlements. Once there's even modest evidence, the risk of losing at trial skyrockets. And with Ellen's wealth, the settlement check could be hefty. The plaintiff's lawyers are building a damages tower. They're stacking every consequence of the crash into the claim. Medical expenses for past and future treatment, wage loss from missed work days, pain and suffering for physical discomfort, Emotional distress, like anxiety or fear of driving. And most damaging, loss of enjoyment of life. This last category hits hard in front of juries. If the plaintiff convinces them that Ellen's actions robbed her of living pain-free, or even of feeling safe on the road, the dollar figure multiplies quickly. And remember, Ellen's deep pockets are part of the case. Juries know celebrities can afford to pay. That makes it much easier to award big sums without guilt. If this case goes to trial, expect the plaintiff's lawyers to turn Ellen's wealth into Exhibit A, the reason justice demands a massive payout. So, how will Ellen fight back? Her legal team hasn't filed an official response yet, but we know the playbook. First, they'll try to challenge the facts. Was visibility at the intersection poor? Did the plaintiff roll into the stop sign too fast? Could she have contributed to the crash herself? If they can argue comparative negligence, meaning both parties share fault, Ellen's damages could shrink dramatically. Second, they'll go after the injuries. Are they really as severe as claimed? Do medical records back them up? Insurance defense attorneys love to argue that plaintiffs exaggerate pain to inflate damages. And finally, Ellen's lawyers might push for a quiet settlement before discovery, because the one thing worse than paying damages is seeing your brand dragged through another public scandal. And before we keep going, do me one favor, smash that like button and subscribe. Think of it as your way of yielding at a four-way stop. It won't save you from a negligence lawsuit, but it will keep you in the loop for every juicy celebrity courtroom crash. How much money are we talking about? The lawsuit doesn't specify, but let's be real. Damages here could run into the hundreds of thousands or even millions. Ellen's net worth is estimated at $300 million. For the plaintiff, that makes her both a high-value target and a realistic source of recovery. For Ellen, it makes her an easy villain in the eyes of a jury. The risk is obvious. Fight in court and risk a huge jury award, or settle quietly for a still hefty sum but avoid the circus. Either way, it's going to cost her. And cost isn't just about money. For a celebrity, the PR damage can be just as expensive. This case may not land Ellen in prison, but it could cement her image problem. The internet already roasted her for preaching kindness while running a toxic workplace. Imagine the memes when people hear she allegedly couldn't stop at a stop sign. Public sentiment is ruthless. Even if Ellen writes a check and moves on, the headline "Ellen DeGeneres sued for negligence after car crash" will live online forever. And for someone already fighting to salvage her legacy, one more bad headline might be the end of any real comeback. Right now, the case is still in its early stages. Next, Ellen's legal team will file a response. Then comes discovery. Depositions, traffic reports, medical evidence. If there are witnesses or dashcam footage, those could decide the case. If it goes to trial, expect experts, accident reconstructionists explaining the crash, doctors testifying about injuries, maybe even psychologists describing the plaintiff's trauma. But don't be surprised if Ellen's team works behind the scenes to settle this before it ever reaches a jury. Because once cameras are rolling in a courtroom, the damage to her brand multiplies. So, could this negligence case actually finish Ellen? Legally, it probably won't bankrupt her, but reputationally, it could be devastating. Her brand already collapsed once under workplace allegations. This lawsuit reinforces the narrative that Ellen isn't who she claims to be, that the be kind image was always a mask. For someone whose career depended on public affection, another blow like this could shut the door for good. At the very least, this case is a reminder that no amount of fame or fortune lets you roll through a stop sign without consequences. So what do you think? Is this negligence lawsuit the final crash for Ellen DeGeneres, or just another bump in the road? Drop your verdict in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe to A Sip of Drama for more courtroom chaos. Because in Hollywood, reputations don't just fade. Sometimes they collide head-on at an intersection.